several hundred people, many holding American flags and signs calling for medical freedom. There was a few dozen counter protesters that had amassed as well. And at some point there was violence between them. So there was clashes caught on video. You might have seen it going around on social media. But if you saw the take from the police in the area, the LAPD said on Twitter that they were monitoring a protest at the south lawn of the LA City Hall, on scene to maintain order after a fight broke out. Yeah, they can sometimes jump in after the Proud Boys that are there get their shots in, but we're aware of one male that was stabbed and is being treated. No arrests have been made, but investigation is ongoing. You can see here a post by them on Instagram as well. And so what I wanted to talk to you about, Francesca, was it seems like, and you can see by the way in the Instagram post, they talk about Antifa, not about the anti-vaxxers, the Proud Boys, the right-wing provocateurs that come in to stab people and get away with it. And so it feels kind of like a Portland situation where the police are there, they're watching the right-wingers engage in violence, and then they do PR for the right-wing groups afterward, only identifying Antifa as being a part of it, regardless of how visible the other side was. The fact that individual members of it have been identified on social media, people who still haven't been arrested for participating in the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. Members or leaders of these organizations, the organization that went online to get them to there in the first place. The police are always there to make it just about Antifa.
Yeah, that caption says, capitalized Antifa, like it's an official organization.com, right? Incorporated, and people gathered for the permitted event. Who were the people? What was their organization? If it's a permitted event, there has to be a name given, right? But no, they're gonna continue to run cover. Honestly, I am so tired of seeing, no difference between anti-vax, Proud Boys, the whatever percent boogaloo boys, I don't know, like, Muppet fascist babies. Like, I'm tired of seeing them decked out in their goggles and their tactical gear and not even seeing the difference between who is a police officer and who is actually a so-called free medical freedom protester, right? Like, it is there's increasingly one and the same, and you see that in the way that the cops consistently protect these white supremacists, and honestly, folks who often instigate this violence. And the sad fact is that this is happening in Los Angeles, in California, which is ostensibly more liberal, more progressive. But there has been an unholy alliance between a certain wellness community of people who have money and means, who believe that their non-FDA approved supplements will help them and give them all the sort of like the strength they need and their whatever, like a protein goop juice that they've bought from Gwyneth, like that segment, and the QAnon Proud Boys, highly MAGA conspiracy theorist segment, and the pandemic has united them. The vaccine has united them. That's why you're seeing some of this happen in LA. And there is also an undercurrent of other things that have happened in Los Angeles, including some anti-trans protests outside of a spa that allows trans people to use the spa, right? That also resulted in violence, that also saw the police running cover for some known white supremacists. So it is very unsettling.
Cover for just constant street violence of right wingers. They have latched on like parasites to these, the things they're latching onto are terrible in their own right, but all of it just ends up being their foot soldiers get in the street, start stabbing people, and the police protect them. And so all of this footage identifying people, will it result in them figuring out who it was that was stabbing someone, or tracking down people who were there on the 6th? We'll see. Kind of doubt it based on the recent history. Francesca, we're unfortunately out of time. I wish that we had more, but I want to thank you for joining us. Where can people listen? Habituation Room.
Wherever you get your podcast, The Habituation Room, or you can watch it live 5/8 Eastern every Sunday on my YouTube channel at Franny Fio. Remember, give me some love on my channel. We're trying. We've got merch.
You've got merch. You can go to the shop and get a shirt. They don't sell the protein goop juice. You have to buy that directly from Gwyneth.
I'm
But they do have
rolling
a
out
shirt, so that's good.
supplements. I'm rolling
As
out
we
liberal
speak.
tier supplements. One last note, I will be in Portland for a live episode of the Bitchuation Room on Thursday, September
Awesome.
2nd. So you can get tickets already. It's like bit.ly/TBR Portland. And I'm maybe convincing John Iadarola to come with.
But that sounds delightful.
It's
It is
on
still a
air, so he
pandemic, but
can't
we'll
say
see.
no. He can't
It's
say
still a
no.
pandemic.
He's coming.
We'll see.
He's
We'll
coming.
see.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye. Okay, thank you. Go away. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Francesca and I are gonna go and film our top 10 list in just like a minute, but we got a lot planned for this week. Jordan's gonna be here tomorrow, so you're not gonna wanna miss it. Reminder again, the multicast is done. Watch The Young Turks, but watch it at youtube.com/theyoungturks or on Twitch. That's where it'll be freely available. Thank you everybody for being here. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.
Yep, welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richey, good to be with you. We got a lot on the agenda today. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking down news of the day with me, none other than Dina Doll, law and crime legal analyst. And for my bullpen debate segment, yep, it's back, it's live, and we're ready. Hannah Cox, brand ambassador for Fee Online, host of Based, and she's making a case against student loan forgiveness in the United States of America. What a hell of an argument. All right, that should be a fun bullpen. Ladies and gentlemen, my top news story for today. Even if the policies are correct and the mandates are proper, there are still parents who are irresponsible as hell. Let me highlight a particular parent. There's a student who tested positive for COVID. The parent tested positive as well. First day of school, this parent decides, hey, it's a good idea for me to still send my child to school to infect every other student in that school system. More than 80 students were potentially exposed to COVID-19 on the first day of class in Reno, Nevada. On Monday, after a parent sent their child to Marcy Hers Middle School, despite both the parent and child receiving a positive COVID-19 test just 2 days earlier. Washoe County Health District officials said the exposed students had to quarantine at home and started distance learning on Tuesday. The county school district mentioned this as well. This is a huge school campus, by the way. Let's show a picture of this school. That's just a portion of it, okay? Huge, all right? In a Tuesday letter sent to parents of impacted students, Principal Brandon Bringhurst said that if their child is fully vaccinated, parents can bring the vaccination card to school and the student can resume in-person classes immediately. Impacted students can also take a COVID-19 test on or after August 14th. And if they test negative and don't have symptoms, they can return to school on August 17th. We are not seeking to invest our limited resources in bringing charges against the parent at this time. That is the official stance of the district at this moment, okay? We are seeking cooperation from our community members, but we have seen Black parents in particular be arrested because they decided to sign their child up in a school district they in fact did not live in, and they were incarcerated, charged, and some of them charged with a felony. Okay, kindergarten through 12th grade students, staff, and parents and visitors of this county are required to wear face coverings inside school buildings, regardless of vaccination status per state directive. So what does this say? This says clearly that the policy is proper. The mandate is affixed correctly. This is a good on paper policy. But culture, ladies and gentlemen, will eat policy alive every day. So while you may have the policy dynamic correct, if the cultural expression is still adversarial to the policy, here's what you get. Students who are now at risk like never before. Hospitalizations, including among younger Americans, are climbing, and students younger than 12 are still ineligible for a vaccine. In some states, including good old Texas and Florida, local leaders have found themselves at odds with their governors over school mask mandates. The current COVID-19 positivity rate in this county, Washoe County, was 17%. And the number of cases for children up to 17 years old jumped by roughly 2.6 times between June and July. According to the health district, they expect that number to increase even more. Just days after fall classes started for Florida's Brevard Public Schools, and after the school board voted against a mask requirement, there are more than 470 COVID-19 cases among students and teachers, and roughly 1,060 people quarantined. That's according to the latest information from the district. Of the 473 positive cases, roughly 385 are students, 88 are employees. That's according to the data. Who made this decision to vote against the mask requirement? These dumbasses. They're the ones who did it, okay? Them. They are putting children at risk. Once again, not just them, but everyone who thinks like them, including their governor. To break this down and a whole lot more, we have legal analyst Dina Doll. Listen, how can they get away with this legally? It is obviously putting children in not only danger, but in a life and death situation.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple legal issues here, both with the Nevada instance and the Florida. Now, the Florida, the governor there did that executive order saying that the counties couldn't have a mask mandate. And there's actually 2 lawsuits right now trying to say that that mandate is unconstitutional, because the Florida Constitution says that a school needs to be a safe environment. Right. And so him not allowing them to have mandates, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, there's tons of research and scientists showing that masks keep students safe. And we see things like this, right? I mean, schools have dress codes, where they tell girls how they should be dressed. So the fact that the governor is not allowing them, you could see this even as a simple dress code to wear a mask, is mandating them not to do that is, highly unusual. And the second lawsuit, that's another one of their points, is that the county itself should have, legislation over their own county. But the problem is that these lawsuits are going to take a while, and in the meantime, these parents, who want their child to have an education and maybe really want them to be in person, are facing this unsafe environment, like the lawsuit is saying, because these masks are now making it very unsafe for them. So that's the struggle. Is like you can look at it legally, but the law can take a long time, and the parents don't have that kind of time when they're trying to decide whether or not to send their child to school.
Yeah, the irony of it all. Republicans used to stand for a platform that said less government is better government. They used to stand against increased government intrusion. However, they are now the biggest catalyst to government intrusion as it relates to masks, as it relates to children, as it relates to women and everything else. As long as it hits their narrative, they don't give a damn about their own political ideology or platform philosophy. That's hypocritical to the highest. Okay, let me shift gears, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, anti-vaxxers, the Proud Boys, these folks teamed together in order to assault others, to stab people, and no arrests have been made. I kid you not. This is an anti-vax rally. It became violent on a Saturday with at least one person stabbed. There may be more. A reporter assaulted after a crowd of several hundred people amassed outside of LA City Hall. Additionally, LAPD, they are facing harsh and justified criticism for how they framed it in their Instagram post. Let's first look at some of this video.
Hey, bitch. Unmask them all! Where's Trevor? Bring his ass! Bring his ass! Come on!
Let me remind you that the Trump supporters, anti-vaxxers, and Proud Boys one and the same. They are the aggressor here. They are committing multiple acts of criminal violence. Multiple felonies are taking place right in front of you. Not one person has been arrested, not one. No arrests have been made as of yet. One Twitter user identified the following individuals from that video: a Proud Boy member named Adam Kiefer, Capitol rioter named Tony Moon, and anti-vaxxer named Roman Gilbert. Okay, those individuals have been identified. More people are attempting to identify others. According to the LA Times, a fight erupted on the corner of 1st and Spring Streets shortly after 2:30 p.m. as counter-protesters in all black and anti-vaccine demonstrators draped in American flag garb and Trump memorabilia traded punches and threw things at one another. It was not immediately clear how the fight started, though each side quickly blamed the other. That's according to the LA Times. One person who the anti-mask protest claimed was part of their rally could be seen collapsed in the intersection bleeding. Police on the scene said the person had been stabbed and paramedics arrived to take him to the hospital. Let's show that stabbing. Okay, so I think that's the aftermath. Okay, that's the aftermath of the stabbing. There seems to be another stabbing as well, according to one Twitter user, Chad Loader. Proud Boys from Bakersfield, California were the ones doing said stabbing. So that provides a little more context to the violence here. Here's a video of a possibly different man being stabbed during that brawl. Let me remind you, not one person has been arrested. Ladies and gentlemen, if you had black people stabbing folks like this in any city in the United States of America, there will be arrest, there will be a call to emergency, all kind of things would have happened. Nothing happened here. The police came gingerly. When they ended up coming, they ended up kind of just walking up as if they had always been there and there was no real emergency. KPCC reporter, a short time after this, KPCC reporter Frank Stoltz could be seen walking out of the park near City Hall, being screamed at by anti-mask protesters. One man could be seen kicking him. He's a reporter. He later told a police officer he had been assaulted while trying to conduct an interview. Here's what he said about the incident on Twitter. Frank said, and I quote, "Something happened to me today that's never happened in 30 years of reporting. In LA, I was shoved, kicked, and my eyeglasses were ripped off of my face by a group of guys at a protest outside of City Hall during an anti-vax recall Governor Newsom pro-Trump rally." The LAPD, they are being criticized as well because of their Instagram post. Let's put that post up for everyone to see. LAPD headquarters, the LAPD is monitoring a protest at the south lawn of the Los Angeles City Hall at 1st Street and Main Street. We are on the scene to maintain order after a fight broke out between Antifa and people gathered for the permitted event. You see how they're, okay. You see how they're framing it, right? Okay. We are aware of one male that was stabbed and being treated by fire department personnel. No arrests have been made, but investigation is ongoing. You don't say. You don't say. My dear sister, what are your thoughts here?
You know, thank goodness for video, first of all, because we could all see exactly what happened there. And my first thought when I watched it was how badly those anti-vaxxers wanted to fight. You know, they were excited to kind of line up and like do this. And, we have to realize as a country, this is going to keep happening because they want it to happen. They want a fight now at every rally. January 6th was like an awakening of sorts, and this is going to keep happening. And the fact that the police were there and yet weren't there is very troubling, because you see that man could have gotten beaten to death, really. A friend of his comes and takes him out of the crowd, and there's a woman that gets hit with a water bottle, just brutally. So there's the stabbing, there's a lot of violence there, and it's right there in front of the police, it's right there in front of City Hall. We see the reporter. So, I really hope that there's a real reckoning, not only with LAPD, but across the country. There has to be this awareness that this is going to keep happening because they want it to happen. What are we going to be willing to do to stop it?
Very well said. And they're not being punished to the degree of their criminality. And that's another reason why they are more emboldened than ever before. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a public service announcement, basically. Sometimes when things happen, especially in redneck world, you have to watch out for three people. You have to watch out for the person in the overalls, the person with the most massive beer belly, and the guy named Randy. I have to pose the question, ladies and gentlemen, what in the redneck hell? Okay, there were bikers. They had a conflict with some individuals in a pickup truck. Here's the first video. Okay, you saw the guy in the overalls, he came out with a gun. Here's the guy with the most massive beer belly. Gotta look out for him too.
Hey, we'll get on this shit. We'll get on our bikes. The real deal. Hey, hey, get on. We'll get on our bikes and leave. Do it. Okay, get up. All right. Get up. I'll kill you. I'll kill your boy. All right. No, come on. I'm gonna say this one more time. I'll take that gun. I'll have a problem with you. Okay, problem with him. Get out of me. This mother. I'm a biker myself.
And by the way, just to note, everybody was okay. Even the guy laying down on the ground, he did get up. But you see the two people so far, guy in the overalls, the guy with the massive beer belly. And then when everything seemed to be calmed down, all of a sudden, here's a guy named Randy.
Here.
What have we learned here, ladies and gentlemen? If you ever find yourself in a redneck brawl, look out for the guy in the overalls, the guy with the massive beer belly, and the guy named Randy. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable.
I'm old enough that I remember when Captain Crunch put the berries in it.
Yay, crunch berries!
And I was like, ooh, the fake berries.
Remember?
We're gonna try that.
We did a story back in the day about how a woman sued, I don't know, General Mills.
She'd been eating it for 4 years,
Right.
believing that it was actual berries. Yeah. She's like, these aren't real berries at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got news for you. Captain Crunch isn't really a captain or a person. Join Joining me now, legendary whistleblower and American hero, Edward Snowden. First question is, hey, where are you?
I'm in my apartment in Moscow.
All of a sudden, in the studio, Jim Gaffigan, everybody.
Mental illness is, completely undiagnosed in our society.
It's not about a particular administration. It's about a broken system of power, and through that, really, the instrumentalization of a system of not justice, but injustice.
People understand whether they claim to deny climate change or not. Our collective house is in crisis. We're also dealing with the legacy of 40 years of economic policies that have made people's lives more precarious.
Sometimes you got to force people into their humanity. Sometimes you have to shake people into empathy.
Senator Elizabeth Warren joins us in the studio.
Healthcare is a basic human right, and we are fighting for basic human rights.
In order to actually achieve that vision of everyone having access to the same resources and getting to determine the outcome of their life, we have a lot of work to do, and it needs to start right now.
Here's something you may not know. When you deposit your money in a big bank, it doesn't just sit, safe and secure, in a vault. Instead, your money could end up building oil pipelines, mining for coal, or drilling in the Arctic. So if you're concerned about the planet, give your money something good to do. Make the move to green with Aspiration's fossil fuel-free account and join the thousands each week who are switching to save their dollars and save the planet at the same time.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
What Donald Trump has done as president has cut taxes for the wealthy and made life better for rich people. But he's made life worse for poor people.
We're making America great again by throwing more money at the military to destroy other countries because that makes us great instead of investing it in ourselves.
That it's Donald Trump and it's Stephen Miller. The choosing is based on wanting to create cruel and inhumane conditions to scare other people away from ever coming to the United States.
The opportunity to make money off of tragedy is the American way.
There's only one place to put garbage people: in the trash.
We've never had so much access to so much information with so little idea of what the hell is going on.
What does enforcing our borders have to do with traumatizing children? Absolutely nothing.
I think a sane person could say the current situation we have right now is radical. But what we're doing is literally making the world more like hell. That's a warning sign.
ShopTYT.com now has books. One of them is Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People. That's a saying that AOC said, they've got money, we've got people. It's the best tracing of the AOC victory I've seen anywhere. It's the most accurate, and it's got great details. The book actually goes all the way back to Jesse Jackson and how he's the original Bernie Sanders. If you want to know how we're going to win going forward, those lessons are super important, and they're in Ryan's book. So check it out right now at ShopTYT.com.
We found the perfect person to lead the army, Allison Hartson.
The establishment media works hand in glove with our corporate legislators, and our corporate legislators work hand in glove with the corporation. And we're going to make it so that it's a decentralized force throughout the country so that we can quickly identify stories, quickly identify troll farms, and go in and neutralize the enemy, and then start building responsible media throughout the country and on every platform available.
Welcome back. We got a lot on the agenda. Let me go to some of these viewer comments. TYT member Cognitive Dissonance is a hell of a drug says, this is why folks want vaccine passports. That's right. You can't trust folks to be accountable these days because it somehow interferes with their freedoms. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon says, I demand my constitutional right to choose not to mask. Unmask them. I demand the right to take away your constitutional right to choose to wear a mask. That is ironic, is it not? YouTube super chat. Nicolette Horates. Proud Boy action is a direct reaction to the largest sustained civil rights protest in US history. That's why the cops let them. Megan Satanas. If any one of those kids die, their parents should be held accountable and put in prison for it. Ignorant. Ashley, my 11-year-old friend who is in person school said no one is wearing masks. Shaking my head. Damn shame. Burb says, I love this show, Doc. I am happy this your new home. Happy to be here. Non-applicable says, too bad police could do nothing to prevent this stabbing. If only we had a department full of people protecting and serving us. Exactly. Twitch, Duwu 87. Doc is in the house. Hope you had a great weekend, sir. I did. I hope you had a great weekend also. Thank you. T-0. I can see the parents of infected children joining together against her in a civil lawsuit. Very true. Fat guy named Tiny says, you never see cops and anti-vax, anti-mask rallies. For the same reason, you never see Clark Kent and Superman in a room together. That was pretty good. Carp ODB. There was pics of the ponytail guy yelling, unmask them, assaulting a female reporter too. Yes, that's very true. Lisa Egan. To be fair, their beer belly could be a weapon of mass destruction. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring your attention to what's happening in Afghanistan, okay? This is why people don't like American involvement. America has effed up all of Afghanistan, okay? Now, if you took sides with America in Afghanistan because of what's happening now with the Taliban and the regime and the new control, you may have a death sentence in that country. And obviously, these people are trying to preserve their lives, to preserve the lives of their families. Chaotic scene unfolded at Kabul's airport as thousands of people rushed the tarmac in desperate attempts to flee Afghanistan following a takeover by the Taliban, okay? This was hard to watch. The Afghans are clinging to a US Air Force transport plane. Others show people falling from the wheel well of the jet just before taking off. Here's some video. So sad, so sad. It is especially dire for women in Afghanistan. Here's a video.
I can't believe the world abandoned Afghanistan. Our friends are gonna get killed, they're gonna kill us. Our women are not gonna have any more rights. And that's all.
No easy solution, especially if you are a person who says the American government should not be involved in these imperial takeovers of other countries. But America broke it, okay? The least America could do is create a program so that we can actually accept individuals that we have put in complete 100% danger. We did that to them. The first female mayor of Afghanistan, Afghanistanians, excuse me, first female mayor, Afghanistan's first female mayor, excuse me, Zarifa Ghaffari, excuse me, I'm getting it right, I'm getting it together, guys, said in the press conference, and I quote, "I'm sitting here waiting for them to come. There is no one to help me or my family. I'm just sitting with them and my husband, and they will come for people like me and kill me. I can't leave my family, and anyway, where would I go?" Dire is an understatement for what's happening in Afghanistan. Ms. Doll, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, I agree. At this point, this is a humanitarian crisis. And as you said, it's affecting women differently. If you see on that video, the people on the stairs to go on the airplane, they're all men. And the reason is probably because the women are hiding, because they know that this is gonna be much worse for them. And I don't know how many people will be able to help get out at this point. I think the airport is going to be taken over by the Taliban any minute or hours or days. But it's startling how quickly they fell, because we have spent 20 years there trying to help build up a military and gave them a lot of military equipment, and there were rarely any shots fired. So, there was some alliance there with the Taliban, and some people are okay with the peace, and it is complicated. But at the end of the day, they're, like you said, our allies and our friends there are going to suffer, and the women there are going to suffer under the Taliban, and it's heartbreaking watching it.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Obviously, no easy solution, but you have to provide some leadership here. And you have to provide some opportunity for protection, which the United States government has failed to do for the individuals that they put in danger themselves. All right, ladies and gentlemen, shifting gears, I wish a Karen would. Okay, we're having a tech issue.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
You're still free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Over there? Okay, that's why you call it.
You know what? You're recording me right now.
Okay.
You recording me? And
Okay.
you're dumb.
Okay.
You and your phone.
Okay.
Get the out of here.
I live here.
How long have you lived here?
It doesn't matter.
Like a month?
Doesn't matter.
Get the out of here.
Make me.
You know what? Bitches like you are the reason cell phones are a thing these days. Okay? Get the out of here.
I don't have to do anything.
Bitch, I lived here for a year and a half. Get the out of here.
I'm not going anywhere, woman. What is with you? I'm not going anywhere. I'm walking my dog. What is your problem, Karen? What is your problem? Come over here. I'll call the cops. I will call the cops. I will call the cops. Back it up. Back it up. I will call the cops. Someone better come get her. I'm not going to jail for this lady. Get your ass out of my face. Really? What is wrong with you? Listen. What is wrong with you?
Really? That's enough.
What is wrong with you? I wasn't doing anything. I'm walking my dog.
Tell her
I'm walking my dog. I'm not going anywhere.
My. Black female, black woman, she's walking her dog. She can't walk her dog in peace. This Karen starts to act even more like a Karen after she is called out for being a Karen. I don't see how that helps her case whatsoever. And yes, the black woman who said, hey, it doesn't matter how long I have lived here. That's correct. It doesn't matter. She lives there. Who cares how long she has lived there? As if the longevity of your residency is a prerequisite to your ability to walk your dog in your community, in your neighborhood, without being violated by this Karen. Here's some background. According to the TikTok user Ty, recorded this Karen moment while walking her dog around the apartment complex in Florida. We're getting so many Karens out of Florida these days. The follow-up videos explains how Karen, totally unprovoked, started yelling at her to get out of here, prompting Ty to start recording. Now, according to the narrative, all of this was 100% unprovoked. That's why they started recording. She has not yet reported the incident to the leasing office, and police are not able to do anything other than say she could place a restraining order on this person. Police also said that because she stood her ground against the Karen, had she at any point actually hit the Karen, Ty would have been charged with battery. Those are your updates to this particular Karen story. Attorney, let me ask you this, because that doesn't sound right to me. That if you are standing where you're standing and a person aggressively approaches you, right? And you obviously are in reasonable fear that they are going to do something to harm you, and you physically protect yourself. According to her, the police said if you would have done something to this Karen who approached you, you would be going to jail for battery. Is that the way the law works?
Well, it's interesting because we're in Florida, which has a stand your ground law.
Right.
And that's kind of what made me start thinking about that when you were talking, because you can literally shoot somebody, if you think that they're going to be entering your home, and here she's protecting herself. I mean, it probably depends on whether or not you see what the Karen did rises to some sort of level of assault, like whether or not she felt, Ty felt threatened by her and there was self-defense. So, there's a little bit of ambiguity there that a lawyer on either side can argue. So for the police to maybe have said such a black and white statement as to that effect is probably not true. But it's interesting in Florida, where self-defense is something we hear about all the time, that they would take a position like that.
Yeah, but you know good and damn well that black folks don't get the same privilege in making those doctrinal claims when it comes to self-defense, right? Those claims have been held up by court systems, typically for white males, but also obviously through extension, white females, and the same benefit of that legal doctrine has not been applied equally to black individuals who are being attacked.
Right, and I think this is a perfect example of that, and kind of the flip is how how the Karen keeps talking about how she lived there longer, that like sense of entitlement, that sense that the law is on her side, the ownership of this space that they're in is on her side. And it is because, like you said, we see that play out over and over and over. So that sense of entitlement is based in fact. It's not just theoretical.
That's right.
knows the law is going to be on her side. And so that's why she's much more willing to do that.
Very well said. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories. Gee, I wonder why we didn't get $15 minimum wage. Because they're all raising money from the guys who don't want to increase the minimum wage.
And we play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcasting cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The Republicans say we will serve our corporate masters at all costs, including killing democracy, yet here we are. Where else do you hear that? You hear that on NBC, on ABC, on CBS? You hear it nowhere.
They don't want to talk about money in politics because it's really hard to pass judgment when your media organization is funded by fossil fuel companies.
The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, the defense contractors, the Wall Street, or the big pharma. And we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed.
The president labeled him a son of a bitch.
I don't think it's good to be a distraction to your team.
To stand proudly for the national anthem.
You know, some of these people need to move to another country.
Well, you shouldn't be playing, you shouldn't be there. Maybe you shouldn't be in the country.
The president is put in place to amplify the racists in this country.
Black men and boys are killed at an exponentially higher rate than white men and boys, as outlined by PBS. Black people are most likely to be killed by police, found mappingpoliceviolence.org. Personally, my biggest gripe is not saying how sports and politics have been attached at the hip. From the jockey syndrome, to the Negro Leagues, to Tommy Smith and John Carlos, Muhammad Ali, to modern day and everything in between. This is not an escape. It is a reflection of reality and a reflection of the times.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
What's happening? Welcome back. Let me read some of these comments. We got a lot of them. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, says, I know nothing about military planning, but shouldn't the evacuation have been planned before removing troops? Yes, we needed to get out, but having no plan is disgusting. It reminds me of watching the Vietnamese standing on rooftops, actually throwing their children into the open doors of helicopters as they took off. Well, they're leaving the same way they came. There was no plane going in, there's no plane coming out. That's the reality of American interference. LMG 15, my heart goes out to the people who are so desperate to leave that they hung on the plane's exterior. Just think about the level of desperation involved in something like that. It's despair. Super chat, Charles Massey. How much you want to bet we declare war on the Taliban and start bombing again? Yeah. Kelly O'Hara says, Afghans will die because we lie about the nature of the American ideal's dream. It's just a cruel scheme. What a joke, makes me choke. Thank you, Kelly, very well said. Tam, I'm a veteran. The women did not have rights under any leadership. Very true. Nika Nostalgia says, yes, I gotta get a I Wish a Karen Wood shirt too. They're coming, they are coming. Susie says, a Karen pulled the plug on us. No, Brett dabbed again and the power went out. That's what happened. Sonic Boom Dragon 23, Karen was mad because I had a barbecue on a Sunday. That's what happened. She was upset about that still. Mick Boy Raps, haha, when she gets her eyebrows done, she says, give me that evil angle. You notice the eyebrows too, I noticed them as well. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you believe in QAnon and you are a parent, we need to check some things out in your household. That's just a reality. QAnon woman says anyone who votes yes on mask mandates will be tried for crimes against humanity. This is an anti-vaxxer QAnon person in Johnson County, Kansas. This was at a commissioner meeting, and here's what she had to say.
I'm from Overland Park, and I'm here for the children. There is zero evidence that COVID-19 exists in the world. PCR tests are recalled. This is a plandemic. Fake virus, bioweapon jab. Fake president. You will not experiment on my children. It's always been about the children. We know you're coming for the children. We will not comply. We will answer to God. People are waking up. Nothing can stop what is coming. You vote yes, you will all be tried for crimes against humanity. Children don't disappear. 800,000 children in the United States disappear. Where do they go? Human trafficking is the real pandemic. The mainstream media doesn't cover it. There's no virus. The media is the virus. The politicians, Hollywood are all involved. Please vote no today. I'm begging you. I want you to think real hard about these children. Trump won.
Okay, here's what I want to do. Okay, and I want to do this in real time. So I'm going to tell my producers, get ready because I'm going to play this video again. Okay? Here's what I want you to do as a viewer. I want you to think about if this white female, what if she was brown? What if her last name was Muhammad? What if she was Muslim and said these exact same words? Do you think people would be more outraged by these words if the religion was different, if her last name was different, or if her complexion was different? Imagine that, and now hear these words.
I'm from Overland Park, and I'm here for the children. There is zero evidence that COVID-19 exists in the world. PCR tests are recalled. This is a plandemic. Fake virus, bioweapon jab. Fake president. You will not experiment on my children. It's always been about the children. We know you're coming for the children. We will not comply. We will answer to God. People are waking up. Nothing can stop what is coming. You vote yes, you will all be tried for crimes against humanity. Children don't disappear. 100,000 children in the United States disappear. Where do they go? Human trafficking is the real pandemic. The mainstream media doesn't cover it. There's no virus. The media is the virus. The politicians, Hollywood, are all involved. Please vote no today. I'm begging you. I want you to think real hard about these children. Trump won.
You know, there are a few angles that we can obviously dissect, okay? We can talk about the illusion of a Trump victory. We could talk about her insistence that somehow this is fake news, that Biden is president of the United States. But I want to focus on something even deeper. I want to focus on comments like nothing can stop what is coming. I want to focus on comments that say you're going to be tried for crimes against humanity. I answer to no one but God, okay? In the context of what she's saying. Do you think she's being investigated by the federal government? No. Do you think anyone is going to follow up with her and try to figure out exactly what she meant by these very threatening statements? No. You know why? Because she's a white female. That's why. And she's going to receive the benefit of the doubt as it relates to these terroristic threats against other people in the United States of America. Ms. Doll, how do you see this?
Yeah, I agree. And I also, listening to that, thought, as a lawyer, like, thank goodness for the First Amendment, actually, because I want to know what this lady is thinking and all those like her. And she said it so plainly to the point it's shocking. But all those politicians who kind of hide behind a little bit more nuanced language, they're believing what she's saying, and she said the stuff that kind of goes unsaid a lot of the time. And I'm so glad that you're actually promoting, put this on your show, because it could be easy to dismiss some of these QAnon theories as their own opinions or, things debatable, whatever. But it is scary because when she talks in that kind of language, it is a talk of, war, maybe overthrowing the government, this fact that only God is in charge, that kind of language spoken so plainly should be really taken seriously. And that's why I'm glad we have a First Amendment. I'm glad people can say all the kind of crazy stuff that's inside their heads, because then we know what's going on. And then the only question is, are we going to do something about it?
Yeah, well said. Let me give some background to the statistics, because the woman was obviously factually inaccurate. COVID is a real virus. Biden, like it or not, he is the actual president of the United States. The number of children hospitalized with COVID-19 in the United States hit a record high of just over 1,900 on Saturday, as hospitals across the South were stretched to capacity fighting outbreaks caused by the highly transmissible Delta variant. Children currently make up about 2.4% of the nation's COVID-19 hospitalizations. That number is rising. Kids under 12 are not eligible to receive the vaccine, leaving them more vulnerable to infection from the new highly transmissible variant. Those are facts. Those are facts. Now, we can debate and argue opinion all day. We can't do that with facts. Okay, next story. There's a pediatrician named Sally Smith that I need us to all pay attention to. She is considered to be one of the most powerful people in Florida government, but she's also considered to be on a power trip, abusing her authority to separate children from their families. A Florida pediatrician, according to many reports, has made multiple false claims of abuse of the children of Saisha Mercado, which resulted in both of her children being taken by the police. Let me show you this first video.
Former American Idol contestant and Broadway actress Saisha Mercado is finding herself the face of legal kidnapping at the hands of Dr. Sally Smith. Dr. Smith is the head of the Child Protective Services and considered one of the most powerful figures in Florida child welfare. She has long been criticized for aggressively reporting child abuse and confiscating people's children. Saisha Mercado and her family are just one more victim. In February of this year, Saisha had taken her 13-month-old baby boy to the hospital. She had just found out that she was pregnant again, and she wasn't producing the amount of breast milk required to feed him adequately. So she asked for the hospital's help in getting him more fluids. After a few days, he was doing fine, and she thought she was going to be able to go home. But the hospital wanted to keep the baby for further observation. On March 11th, Manatee County Child Protective Services came to the hospital with armed officers and said they would be confiscating the baby because the parents had refused a B12 shot. She says that never happened.
But what do we do?
Yeah, what is the crime? Can you please give us a charge?
But who said we neglected? You refused the B12 shot today. I didn't refuse it. I said his father was on the way.
There was no refusal.
So you're saying you're taking my child away from me? I am. Right now, you can't take my child away from me.
That's not going to happen. Right now, this time, I'm filing criminal charges against this hospital.
Never said I didn't do anything. This is so injustice. I didn't do anything.
The baby was removed from the parents' care and placed in foster care without trying to do a family first placement or speak to their lawyer, and they have not seen him since.
It gets even deeper than that. The incident of one child being taken was recorded by the parents. Here it is.
My baby is days old, and you're taking my baby away from me. You're taking my baby away from me, and you have no heart. This is so wrong.
Just give us a second. Can you give us a second?
Don't make it seem like I'm crazy, okay?
We suppose this is normal.
I know you have children.
Sarah.
This is my baby.
You may not have babies, but
I carried my baby for 9 months.
Understand that.
this is normal.
You don't care.
Yes, I do. Put the plate.
You don't care.
Would you like to put the
You could have talked. No, I don't. I want my baby.
We have to put the baby.
My baby is healthy and happy.
Okay, put the
My baby is breastfeeding from me. What are you gonna give my baby?
Please put the baby in the car.
I'm highlighting this story because the complaints against the one individual behind this are astronomical. Let's put up a picture of Dr. Sally Smith out of Florida. That is the person, according to the reports, who has been behind all of these abuses of power. The USA Today network reviewed hundreds of that doctor's cases in conjunction with a multi-part investigation into Florida's welfare system. It found more than a dozen instances where charges were dropped, parents were acquitted, or caregivers had credible claims of innocence, yet suffered irredeemable damage to their lives and reputations because of this one doctor. Let's put up a picture of Saisha Mercado and her family. Here's a picture. Beautiful family. By all accounts, loving, nurturing. This is unbelievable. That's not the only family. There's another family. Let's pull up this other family. This is Vadim and Elina Kushner. Okay? Same thing happened to them. They celebrated the first birthday of their son, William, in July. Child abuse pediatrician Dr. Sally Smith accused them of abusing their son 6 weeks old. It has not been substantiated. And the list goes on and on. So sad, so extreme. We're gonna continue to watch this. We will monitor this, and I will bring you updates as the story develops. We got more on the other side. Stick and stay. It's indisputable.
You know what the progressive movement needs? It needs a little energy, a little pizzazz, maybe a little caffeine. Oh, coffee. But what if it was Too Strong Coffee? Yes, new TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT. Look, this helps progressive causes. It's also organic and fair trade, so you've got peace of mind that it was done right, and it happens to taste great. So check it out right now at TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT.
That's 300 million. That's a pretty good number. Well, that's the size of the U.S. population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world. We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day. We looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 15 billion views.
Damn.
All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Rob Shively. What do you know? Rob says, rejoice, for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
All right, let me do a little quick plug here. It's not even a plug, I'm bragging, okay? I'm bragging, watch me. We have a channel on YouTube, a whole channel devoted just to the Young Turks. It's badass, right? Wow, man.
I can see the void.
You guys are rock stars.
Unbelievable. Senator Sanders, welcome to Rebel Headquarters. Man, you guys are amazing. We gave you what you wanted. Okay. Speaking of shirts.
I have a surprise.
You reached a lot of people. You are the Young Turks. And we have spread that progressive message wide and far. Let's keep it going.
Here's what we do. We go beyond the headline. We are willing to engage in transparent conversations with those who do not think like me. We also make sure that you know what's happening not only nationally, but in your local area. Make sure you tune in to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time.
Cool news, shoptyt.com now has books. There's a whole bunch of books there. You're gonna be shocked to find out that they're largely progressive. Of course! Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People, is there. It's a fantastic story from Jesse Jackson to Bernie Sanders to AOC that explains the progressive movement probably better than any book I've ever read. Speaking of awesome books, my dad's got a book out called The Original Young Turk, where he goes from the poorest olive farmer you ever met in your life to living the American dream.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Ms. Doll, it is always remarkable having you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you and check out your work.
They can follow me on Ask Dina Doll 1 on Twitter.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, stick and stay. We got more. The bullpen is next. All right, welcome back. Let me read some of these amazing viewer comments. We got a lot of them. I will read as many as I can. TYT member Lorraine Dobson says, took her kid for not taking a B12 shot. And remember, that's in dispute. She said, no, we didn't refuse a B12 shot. But you got to think about it in context. That would get your kid taken away from you. What happened to freedom? Why isn't she taking kids from all the anti-vaxxers? It's a good point. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon. Oh my God, crying so hard. Confiscating her baby? More like kidnapping. Is this doctor getting a kickback for every child she puts in the system? It's quite extreme. And remember, complaints have been mounting so much that multiple national publications are now viewing this doctor's history, doing an analysis, and they're coming up with the same thing. There is unequal application here, and she's putting a lot of people in trouble who should not be, a lot of parents. Spur marks, super chat. Howdy from Texas, which will hopefully turn blue in 2022. Man, that would be massive. Jill Wagner, I have lived in Florida and it's the caring capital of the United States. I can't disagree with you there, especially given what we've seen lately. Ruber Dragon, Children's Services need to investigate her fitness as a parent. Don's Den says, I don't care what color her skin is, I believe she needs help. E pluribus ploppers. A couple of racist NJ teachers tried to legally abduct my children from me. I had a child trauma psychologist clear us, then got those teachers fired. Well, good for you, good for you. Twitch, Shamberby says, we need an emoji of Brett dabbing so we can respond appropriately when TYT has technical difficulties. Let's get on top of that. That needs to be a priority. Okay, RC Taco 13, talking about children disappearing, ... Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. In the bullpen today, I have none other than Hannah Cox, who is brand ambassador for FEE, F-E-E Online, and host of Based. We're going to debate college debt forgiveness. Ms. Cox, good to have you on the show. How are you?
Good to be with you, Dr. Ritchie.
Absolutely. I don't want to presume what you believe or proclaim about student loan forgiveness. So if you would, give us your background, your thoughts, your ideology as it relates to student loan forgiveness in the United States of America.
Sure. Well, I'm so happy you had me on to talk about this because I actually think it's a subject that I can agree with a lot of people on the left about. I myself have student loan debt. I am impacted by this. It's something I care a lot about. I am not in favor of student debt cancellation, even though I have to be totally honest, it would benefit me personally quite a bit. But I don't think it would solve the long-term problems that we face in this country, which are that the cost of college has become too expensive for most people, while simultaneously college degrees have become worth less and less over time. That also would be very regressive to take from basically the working class who does not go to college. We only have about 1 in 3 Americans with a college degree, and force them to subsidize the choices that people like myself have made while we are making more income on average. I think that's a very regressive policy. It's not equitable. And so while I can agree with the root problem here with people, which is that college is too expensive, we need to do something. We're burying people in debt. We are stunting an entire generation and preventing them from economic mobility. I don't think that canceling student loans is the way to go. I do have a lot of other ideas for ways that we could make the cost of college cheaper, which I would love to get into with you. But I cannot support basically throwing more money at the problem when really all the data in front of me shows that the reason college has become too expensive in the first place is because of government involvement in the market and government subsidization and government loans in the first place.
So let's talk about that because you and I may actually have some common ground here. I'm a university professor, but I'm also an advocate who says the cost of higher education is too damn high. I'm also one of those professors who works with technical training programs. And when I say work with them, I work with them intimately because I understand that everybody will not benefit from a college degree, but everybody can benefit from knowing how to do something. That's called technical training. And technical skills are becoming more and more needed and desired in the workplace, certifications, etc. So I'm with you on that point. Here's the blind side I see in your argument. So while yes, the cost of education is something that must be handled and it must be dealt with as an ongoing problem, I don't see how taking away the option of either decreasing or eliminating student loan debt is problematic, okay? So let me put it this way. Usually when we have these kind of debates about massive policy like this, we have 4 pillars for the debate. The first pillar is constitutional. Is it constitutional to do? The second is legal. Is it legally allowable? The third is financial. Is there an economic incentive? And the fourth is ethical. Is there an ethical core for doing something like this? So we already know it is constitutional. We know that it is legal under the Act of 1865, which is your Education Act. We do know that it is economical because the 3 groups that will benefit most from a massive college debt forgiveness plan in the United States of America are women, number 1, number 2, people of color, number 3, older borrowers. Those are the people that will benefit the most. It seems as if your argument is because it does not fix the other problem, which I agree it is a problem, the out of control cost of education. Because it doesn't fix that problem, then you should not also apply this solution for debt forgiveness. Is that basically your argument?
Well, I first want to disagree a bit that it's economical. You're looking at 1.5 trillion in federal loans for about 43 million people that carry them. The average student loan payment per month is $200 to $300 per month. Now, I pay about $250 a month. Is it pleasant? No. Do I sometimes have to pick up extra contracts to cover that, to live comfortably? Yes. And I've worked multiple jobs ever since I graduated college. But that is my responsibility to pay back. And I do earn more than the average person coming out of high school does. So is it economical to ask this country that is already trillions of dollars in debt to come in and pay $1.5 trillion for 43 million people? There's an opportunity cost there. That's money we're not spending on other things that actually might be more economical, that actually might benefit the vast majority of people in this country. So I kind of have a problem with that mentality just because a lot of women carry student loans or just because a lot of people carry student loans.
Well, let me ask you this, because in your first analysis, you said that part of the reason why student loan debt is out of control is because of the fault of the government, correct?
I do think that's true, yes.
Well, why would you not then say the government should bear some of the remedy in making sure that student loan debt forgiveness is a reality? If you could say in your problem dynamic that the federal government is behind the inflated cost of education, which has contributed to the out of control debt that Americans have to carry today, why would you then let them off the hook as it relates to actual application of the remedy to forgive student loan debt?
Well, because who you're actually letting off the hook here are the colleges and universities that have been written a blank check by the government, by student loans. And if we just start canceling them all out, what happens? You're going to have a lot more people that are then they're going to start taking on more debt because it's going to be canceled out. Those colleges continue to get a blank check. All the while, their degrees are becoming less valuable. They're selling people a false bag of goods. They're saying you can come and pay us $90,000 for a graphic design degree and come out and make a lot of money, when in reality, these people come out and make $40,000 a year. We have to hold the colleges accountable, and giving them even more government money, even more of a blank check by canceling student loans and having the taxpayers pick up the bill, that lets these colleges and universities run unchecked. The Federal Reserve actually shows that for every dollar of federal student loan aid, colleges raise their tuition by 65 cents. And so this would be something that not only would not address the root cause of the problem, I think it would compound it and enable colleges to keep raising their rates far above what the laws of supply and demand would actually compel people to pay.
I think you're conflating two things that do not naturally coexist. You're conflating debt forgiveness to financial aid. Financial aid has created massive cost for colleges and universities. As a professor, I know this firsthand. But when you talk about student loan forgiveness, that does not conflate with actual financial aid or even grant programs in the marketplace where the federal government is the underwriter. Let me bring your attention to something that I do disagree with you on as it relates to the financial or the economic argument. There are 3 dynamics that would be impacted based on peer-reviewed studies if you forgive college debt. Number one, it will immediately increase consumer spending. The payment of college debt is between $200 to $300 per month, as you have already alluded to. That would increase spending by trillions in the marketplace over the course of 1 year. The federal student loan debt program, if discharged overnight, would also have a massive impact on new entrepreneurs, given the fact that based on a 2020 survey, the reason why half of the individuals with student loan debt have not sought entrepreneurship as an option is because of the debt that they have accrued through student loans. And number three, based on a survey in 2019, another scientific survey, nearly half of millennials said they were delaying buying a home because of their student loan debt. That's nearly half. And we all know that one of the greatest ways to build generational wealth is actually through home ownership. So if you are a renter, you typically have about $5,000 in assets. If you are a homeowner, you have about $221,000 in asset on average. You're telling me that half of the millennials who could be homeowners today are not because of student loan debt. Those are three economic variables that take off immediately based on a forgiveness program. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think it goes back to the broken window fallacy, where you're only looking at one side of the coin of what would happen here. You still have to pay for this debt. It doesn't just magically disappear because the federal government comes in and says it's forgiven. It also doesn't just stop with the people who currently hold student loan debt. So to say that this wouldn't contribute to federal aid, that's not correct. We're going to continue to see people then have their student loans forgiven, have this debt forgiven. That means we, the taxpayers, are picking up the bill, and we're continuing to subsidize federal student loans at an even greater amount. And I absolutely do think that would contribute to rising tuition costs continuing to skyrocket. But to talk to the other point that you brought up, I think we have to look at what we're giving up here. Whenever we're spending money, there is an opportunity cost. There's something else we're not getting. And if the answer is to just print more money, we already know what happens then. We get more inflation. Our salaries are not worth as much. We can't buy as many goods. We're already experiencing that in the culture right now. Again, when we ask the average working class person to pick up that tab and forgo things that they need with their tax dollars and services they might be able to access from their tax dollars in order to pay for the choices of people who choose to go to college, who choose to pursue careers that might end up paying them more, that feels very unjust to me. Again, it feels very inequitable. I don't think that it does much as far as fixing the problem that college degrees are not earning as much as they used to. And it certainly doesn't do anything to bring the cost down, which again need to be the real focus. And there are things we could do. You know, when you talk about people not being able to open a business, you talk about people not being able to purchase a home. These are serious things that we should care about, and I do. But there are things we could do without forcing people to subsidize the wealthy and upper class in this country. Things like, why don't we get rid of the interest rate on these loans? That would immediately solve a huge chunk of the problem for many people. You know, I'm paying 6+% every month in interest on these loans. That makes it a lot harder to pay it off quickly and pay it down. We could also be doing things like incentivizing people to start working to repeal many of these barriers to actually getting a good job at the state level. We don't even need the federal government for some of this. There's many things we could do to get barriers out of the way, like occupational licensing and other regulations that prohibit people from simply graduating from college, earning a skill, and going to work. And then thirdly, I think we could start looking at what is driving up the cost of college outside of tuition, and that's living expenses. When you look at the average debt somebody holds in this country, it's about $37,000 in America. What I find interesting is that in Sweden, where their college is free, the average person who attends their college carries $21,000 in loan debt still. Why is that? Because they're still having to pay for their living costs outside of tuition. There are things we could do to start incentivizing people to stay home, live with their parents when they go to college, and do this much more cheaply. Right now, when you go, you're forced to live in a dorm, you're forced to pay their rates, you're forced to pay their meal plans, you're forced to pay for very expensive books. All of these things could drastically bring the cost of college down. And the frustrating thing to me about the student loan debt cancellation is that we focus on this like symptom of the problem. And it doesn't address the root cause of the problem at all. It doesn't make the future better for anybody coming up behind us. And that's my concern. Again, as somebody who would benefit from student loan debt cancellation, why should I say no? I say no to it because I know that it actually doesn't help anybody behind me, and it probably even makes it worse for them.
You know, it's really interesting that you have utilized every other arsenal in the toolbox, right? You're talking about zero interest loans. You're talking about somehow decreasing the cost of living. You're talking about all of these other variables that can be utilized in order to take down the massive debt that people actually owe. However, you have left completely off the table the federal government's involvement in forgiving student loan debt. I don't understand that. I don't understand why all of these other elements are remedies for you, except this one massive element that the federal government has been empowered to do since 1965. So let me pose this question to you. Are you in favor of corporate tax abatements?
I am not in favor of any special breaks for corporations. I think that there should be a flat tax rate. I don't like corporate welfare. And I think selective tax breaks are the same as tax handouts. So I'm not in favor across the board.
Now, the reason why you're not in favor, let me not presume, what's the reason as far as why you're not in favor of those? And I agree with you, I'm not in favor of them either.
Yeah. It's crony capitalism. It's a perversion of the market, and I think it picks winners and losers, and I think it ultimately hurts people, and I think it's unfair, and it creates all kinds of secondary issues in the market where you then have and that's happening in this field as well. I absolutely see your point. But it's the colleges that we need to go after here in the universities. They should be on the hook. The reason I have all these other options, notice they involve personal responsibility. They revolve around actually holding the right people accountable. And they revolve around things that government can do to reduce the debt without actually forcing other people to pay for it. Now, why should somebody else have to pay for debt that I took out? Yes, government has tinkered with the market. Yes, government has enabled colleges to make the cost of tuition too expensive. But is that my neighbor's fault that I chose to buy into a kind of a crony scheme? I don't think so.
You know, that's really interesting because once again, you articulated the problem as being partly as a result of the federal government itself. But when it comes to the federal government creating the remedy for the problem, you're now saying that because of who you are as a taxpayer, you should not be involved in paying the taxes or paying the debt associated with the out of control college loans that the federal government was involved in making problematic. Here's that argument on the other side, okay? This country goes to war all the time. I don't agree with those wars. This country makes financial decisions with my money to have positions of prestige and honor for Confederate monuments. That's my tax dollar. I don't want to pay for that crap, but it does, right? So you now want to make the argument that somehow a program that you admit is out of control and problematic for American citizens because of the federal government. You don't want the federal government being involved in the remedy of that program. You want mothers and fathers to have kids stay at home. You want to change how dormitories operate on school campuses, which I'm not saying those are bad things. I'm just saying, why not put that in concert with the reality of the federal government?
The federal government doesn't pay for anything. We do. Every bit of dollars they have come from us. And so what I am saying is that taxpayers shouldn't be on the hook to clean up the government's mess. Yes, the government created the problem, but it can't be the remedy. The same thing that created the problem in the first place cannot be the solution, which is what student debt cancellation is. It's essentially taking more tax dollars, continuing to subsidize these schools, continuing to subsidize poor choices and utilizing these schools, and continuing to ask taxpayers to pick up the bill. That isn't a remedy.
Think about this, okay? The vast majority of Americans were against the war in Afghanistan. They were against invading Iraq. The vast majority of Americans were for things like Meals on Wheels, which the previous administration was against. So there has never needed to be public sentiment for how the American government spends our taxpayer dollars. I don't see you all jumping up and down about those elements. And let's be very clear, about 50% of Americans are for student loan forgiveness programs in America. And more than 50% of Americans are for either some level of abatement, a decrease or bottoming out of the interest, or forgiving it altogether. So the vast majority of Americans are for a solution here. So when you talk about Americans actually footing the bill, well, in this case, unlike other things that we pay for through our tax dollars, the vast majority of Americans are on board with this.
That might be so, but that again that's not a principled response to how we should handle things. The vast majority of Americans have been in favor of many terrible things throughout our history.
How was it not a principled response?
The reason that you see these people gravitating towards student loan cancellation, it's the only option they're being presented. I don't hear any other of our leaders coming out and saying, here's X, Y, Z of what we could do to actually address the root cause of the problem. Here's how we could actually make college more affordable. Here's how we could actually cut down on the stress that we're asking people to repay over time. Here's other solutions. That's never brought up. It's either
that's not true.
Cancellation or nothing. And so, of course, when people are presented with only one option, they're going to gravitate towards it.
That's not true. I want you to do some research on something called the American College Promise Act. The American College Promise Act, which was it did not even receive a floor vote. This came under President Barack Obama. It was led by Democrats. Republicans killed it at every chance they had. But the American College Promise Act would have done a few things. Number one, it would have made experiential learning and previous college credits massively transferable across institutions, believing in education over schooling. It would have also decreased the amount that individuals pay for colleges, particularly community colleges, public colleges. And it would have also provided a remedy for individuals who had never been to college before, so that your zip code would not be a determination as far as your ability to go to college or not. And the fourth thing it did is it created a direct pathway for technical training programs for those who would like to be involved in technical skills rather than college education. The American College Promise Act did all of that, but it was shot down by conservatives. So when you say that there has not been a solution on the table, that was one solution right there that never received the light of day.
Now, I don't remember that bill exactly because I would have been in high school when that came about, but I do think I know some of the after effects, which are that some states came in and put in some of these types of programs where they did start to fund trade programs. They did start to actually look at some of this. I think as a whole, the problem is still we're looking at government to fix the problem it created. Even under this, we're saying, what can government pay for? How can government come in and save us? We don't need government to come and save us. We need it to get out of the freaky market and just let it work. Let supply and demand correct itself.
That's a nonsensical argument. If I'm going to continue to pay taxes, damn it, I get a say-so over where my tax dollars are used. You don't get to take 30-40% of my income and tell me I can't tell you what I want you to do with it. That's not how this works.
Listen, I wish you were right. I wish we got to determine where our tax dollars went. I wish we got to vote on that. But the fact of the matter is that we don't. And the fact of the matter is that canceling student loans would do nothing to bring down the cost of college, which again has to be the main focal point here. We have to figure out a way to make this more affordable so that all people have equal opportunity in this country. That's the only actual way to address this in a fair and sensible way.
Let me go to a cause and effect reality that I think maybe you miss in this debate. If you are a black or brown person, if you are a woman, you do not have the same opportunity in the workplace with the same degree as a white male, which means your ability to pay back your college loan debt is severely hindered by a relationship between the marketplace and your gender and or race identity. The American government hasn't fixed that, but that is a problem and a disparity that we know exists. So right now, if you forgive student loan debt, the number one demographic that would benefit from that are women. Number two, people of color, and number three, older Americans. I think it is a good thing to move in that direction. I agree it does not solve the other issue of out of control cost of education, but that is a different argument and debate, and we should utilize every variable, every tool at our disposal to solve this problem. I let you get the last word. We're flat out of time.
Well, listen, at least we agree on 50% of the problem here, and I think we could have many more good debates on it. As a whole, I recognize that there's a lot that needs to be done. I will say as a woman, I don't really agree with you that I face extra burdens in the workplace. I think I've done very well for myself in the workplace, so I don't really see that being a factor, and I don't particularly like as a woman when people use my gender as a reason to push back.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about actual statistical data from women that have went on surveys and said this has become a problem for me, and economic data that shows that women in the workplace make 20 to 25 cents less on average than their white male counterparts. That is a fact. I'm arguing statistical science, not about the microcosm, of your personal experience.
But that statistic has been refuted over and over again.
No, by who? By who?
There are many studies.
Name one study.
Looking at an average when
you
compare
one study, madam.
And women.
I just cited Pew Research. Name one study.
I don't have the study in front of me, but I'm glad to find them for you.
We'll bring you back next time.
That you are looking at averages versus medians, and when you look at actual careers, women do not make less when they have the same career path and same amount of education in a given role.
You're completely inaccurate, and you can check out all of my data. Pew Research is one place, Education Institute is another. I appreciate you being on the show on Indisputable. Thank you for being in the bullpen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of the planet. And remember, the truth is always indisputable.